What if the discomfort you've been carrying wasn't random, but a message your body has been whispering for years? A message you've been too busy, too overwhelmed, too exhausted to hear. You feel it in the heaviness after meals, in the fog that settles behind your eyes, in the slow energy that drags through your mornings. And yet, deep down, you know this isn't who you're meant to be. That something inside you isn't operating the way it should, that your body is asking for help, quietly, patiently, hoping you'll finally listen. This is where your journey begins, not with fear, but with recognition. A moment where you understand that your symptoms are not flaws, they are signals. Signals that there is still a way back to feeling light, clear, and alive again. You are not imagining the weight in your gut. You are not imagining the tension, the pressure, the feeling that something inside you is working harder than it should. The gut is the core of your well-being, and when it's stressed, inflamed, or overburdened, your entire system feels it. Your mood, your energy, your sleep, even your ability to think clearly, and your liver, quiet, steady, always filtering, always protecting, carries its own silent load. Every processed meal, every night of poor sleep, every stressful day adds up. Not all at once, but slowly, gradually, until one day you realize you've adapted to a version of yourself you never chose. But here's the truth many people forget. The body is not your enemy. It is your ally. It wants balance. It fights for you even when you don't notice. Inflammation is not just damage. It's your body trying to defend you. Fatigue is not weakness. It's a request for relief. And when you finally give your body something small, steady, and supportive, it responds in ways that feel almost impossible. Not because miracles happened, but because biology did what it always wanted to do: reset, repair, restore. That's why the smallest habits matter, because your body doesn't need perfection. It doesn't need dramatic changes. It doesn't need you to overhaul your entire life. It needs a signal, a gesture, a moment each day where you choose support over neglect. Sometimes that moment looks like a tiny dose of something natural, a spice, a compound, a quarter teaspoon of intention, not a cure, not a promise, but a daily reminder that you are taking back ownership of your health, that you're giving your gut the nourishment it craves, that you're giving your liver a chance to breathe again. Imagine what begins to shift when you do this, not overnight, but gradually, in the quiet spaces of your day. You wake up feeling just a little clearer. Meals sit more comfortably. Your mind feels a touch lighter. Your body feels less burdened. The changes are subtle at first, almost easy to miss, but they grow. They compound. Because when you support the systems that support you, everything begins to align again. You start feeling like you have more control, more clarity, more presence in your own skin. And that feeling, the feeling of returning to yourself, is one of the most powerful forms of healing you can experience. This is the moment you understand that your well-being is not defined by the pain you've carried, it's defined by the choices you make next. You don't need intensity, you don't need perfection, you need consistency. A small ritual, a tiny shift, a quarter teaspoon of commitment to yourself. That's where renewal begins. That's where inflammation starts to settle, where your gut begins to calm, where your liver finds the space to do what it does best. And as you take this step, your body listens. It responds. It thanks you in its own quiet language, through energy, through comfort, through ease. This is your turning point. The moment you decide that the struggle you've normalized no longer has to be your everyday reality. The moment you give your body what it's been waiting for. The moment you choose to feel better, lighter, and more alive than you have in years. You've already felt the first shift, that quiet moment when your body begins to respond to the care you've finally decided to give it. And now, something deeper rises in you, something stronger, something that refuses to settle for the version of life you've been living. Because once you sense even a hint of relief, a glimpse of clarity, a flicker of energy, you start to realize how much you've been missing, how long you've been pushing through the heaviness, pretending it was normal. but your body is telling you otherwise. It's telling you that change is possible, that improvement is real, that the small step you've taken has opened the door to something far greater than you ever expected. And you feel it, not as a thought, but as a pull, a momentum you don't want to lose. Each day you continue this small act of support, you're sending a message to your body that you're ready to reclaim control. You're done letting stress dictate your choices. You're done letting fatigue win. You're done accepting discomfort as your identity. That quiet ritual becomes a declaration, a promise to yourself that you will no longer live in survival mode. And that's when urgency begins to rise. Not fear, but purpose. A deep understanding that every moment you delay is another moment you lose to the exhaustion you're trying to escape. And suddenly the idea of going back feels unbearable, because now you know there's another path, a better one, a healthier one that doesn't require perfection, just intention. You start paying attention to the signals you used to ignore, the way your stomach tightens after stressful days, the way your mind dulls when your body is overwhelmed, the way your energy drops when you deny yourself the support you know you need. These signals aren't inconveniences, they are warnings, and now you hear them clearly. You feel the urgency to act, to keep going, to lean into the momentum that's finally working in your favor. Because the truth is, your body doesn't wait forever. It adapts to whatever you give it, and today, you're choosing to give it relief instead of more strain. That choice begins shaping your mindset. You stop seeing health as a battle and start seeing it as a partnership. You stop waiting for the right time because you understand the right time is now. You stop talking yourself out of small habits because you finally understand their power. Your body is always listening, always responding. And when you offer it consistency, even in small doses, it shifts the entire direction of your life. This is where belief starts replacing doubt. Not blind belief, but earned belief, built from the feeling that something inside you is finally aligning. And as you move deeper into this journey, the stakes grow higher because you've tasted what it feels like to support your body instead of working against it. You know what it feels like to take ownership instead of letting symptoms define you. You feel the difference between neglect and intention, and now you want more. More clarity, more comfort, more strength, more presence. This desire isn't about chasing perfection. It's about refusing to settle for the version of life that kept you stuck. You've broken through the first layer, and now you're hungry for the layers beneath. Every time you continue this small ritual, you reinforce the identity of someone who chooses health, who chooses relief, who chooses progress. You're not waiting for motivation. You're not waiting for ideal conditions. You're acting. And that action is transforming you from the inside out. The more you commit, the more your mind shifts. The more your mind shifts, the more your body responds. It becomes a loop of growth, a cycle of upward momentum that you cannot afford to break. You're no longer doing this for convenience. You're doing it because you feel the cost of ignoring your body. You feel the price of going back to the fog, the fatigue, the heaviness. And you refuse to let that become your future. Not now, not after everything you've begun. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't accept decline as destiny, a version that rises, a version that listens, a version that takes action before the pain forces it. This is your turning point, expanding into something bigger, your commitment becoming strength, your small daily choice becoming transformation, and you can feel it happening right here, right now, as you decide that your well-being is no longer negotiable. You're not just supporting your body, you're reclaiming your life. You can feel the shift growing stronger, like something inside you has finally woken up after years of being ignored. And now that you've tasted even the smallest hint of change, you know you can't go back to the way things were. Not after realizing how much of your life you've spent carrying weight that was never meant to be permanent. Not after feeling what it's like when your body finally gets a moment of relief. That feeling becomes a spark, and that spark begins to burn through every excuse you've ever used to delay your own well-being. You start to understand that every day you wait is another day you hand over control to habits that never served you. And suddenly, the idea of standing still feels more dangerous than the idea of moving forward. You feel the urgency rising, not because someone told you to change, but because your body finally has your attention. It's no longer a whisper you can ignore. It's a demand, a call to stop living on autopilot, a call to stop accepting heaviness as your normal. You recognize that the discomfort you've tolerated for so long has already taken too much from you, your clarity, your energy, your peace. And now that you've taken even the smallest step towards supporting yourself, you realize how much more there is to gain if you keep going. This is no longer about a ritual. It's about reclaiming the parts of your life you forgot were yours. With every small action, you're proving something important to yourself. You're proving that change isn't impossible. You're proving that progress doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. You're proving that you are capable of consistency, even when the world around you feels chaotic. And that consistency becomes a kind of strength you've been missing. Quiet, steady, unshakable. It's the kind of strength that builds from the inside out, the kind that doesn't depend on motivation or perfect timing. It depends on choice, your choice, the choice you keep making each day to support your body instead of abandoning it. And with each choice, you begin to feel a deeper truth settling in. You matter. Your health matters. Your comfort matters. Your future matters. You stop living like someone who is trying to outrun exhaustion and start living like someone who is ready to step into the life they've been postponing. That's when the urgency becomes something powerful, not pressure, but purpose. A drive that pushes you to keep going because you finally see what's at stake: your energy, your focus, your ability to show up for the people you love, your ability to show up for yourself. You begin to realize that every time you choose a small act of care, you're creating a ripple. One more moment of balance, one more moment of ease, one more moment where your body feels supported instead of overwhelmed. And these moments gather, they connect, they build a foundation strong enough to carry you through the challenges you used to collapse under. You start trusting yourself again, trusting your decisions, trusting your ability to stay committed, and that trust becomes fuel. You're no longer just trying to feel better. You're building a life where feeling better is the standard, not the exception. A life where you don't settle for constant fatigue or constant tension. A life where you honor the signals your body sends instead of silencing them. This shift becomes a turning point, and the turning point becomes a transformation. Not because everything magically changed overnight, but because you finally decided you were worth the effort. And now you feel the momentum pulling you forward. You feel the possibility expanding. You feel the future becoming something you actively shape instead of something that just happens to you. This is your moment to claim. This is your moment to rise. This is your moment to decide, fully and without hesitation, that you are done living in the shadow of what you could be. You are stepping into the version of yourself that refuses to settle, the version that listens, the version that acts, the version that takes back every piece of life that discomfort tried to steal. You feel the rise happening inside you, that quiet shift turning into something undeniable, something that refuses to be ignored. And now that you've seen what even a small act of care can spark, you can't help but imagine what lies ahead if you keep pushing forward. That thought alone creates a fire in your chest, a steady burn that reminds you how much you've held yourself back, how often you've settled for feeling half alive. But now you're done settling. You're done shrinking yourself to fit into days defined by fatigue, tension, or uncertainty. There's a part of you waking up, a part that's been waiting for the exact moment when you'd finally choose yourself without hesitation. You sense it growing stronger every time you refuse to fall back into old patterns. You sense it every time you feel even the slightest improvement in your body, the smallest sign that your effort is paying off. These moments aren't tiny, they're proof. Proof that your body responds when you support it. Proof that you're capable of more than you believed. proof that the life you want isn't somewhere far away. It's building inside you right now. And with every step forward, the possibility becomes clearer. You start to realize that the things you once called normal were never meant to be your normal at all. They were symptoms of a life lived in survival mode instead of intention. The urgency rises because you finally understand what's at stake. This isn't about comfort, it's about freedom. The freedom to wake up without heaviness dragging behind your eyes. The freedom to move through your day without feeling like you're fighting against your own body. The freedom to think clearly, breathe deeply, and exist in a state that feels natural instead of forced. You're no longer chasing quick fixes or waiting for a perfect moment. You're choosing movement over stagnation. You're choosing the version of yourself that refuses to settle for anything less than fullness, clarity, and strength. And that choice begins reshaping everything around you. Your habits shift. Your mindset sharpens. You stop making excuses for why you can't take care of yourself, and you start finding reasons why you must. You feel your priorities rearranging themselves, pulling your attention toward what truly matters. There's a seriousness in you now, not heavy or stern, but grounded, focused, determined. Because once you know you can feel better, once you've gotten even a taste of what alignment feels like, going back isn't an option. You have too much to gain, too much to reclaim, too much potential waiting beneath the surface of who you've been. And with every breath, every choice, every moment you stay committed, you're proving that you are not fragile. You are not stuck. You are not defined by the discomfort or the exhaustion you once carried. You are someone who rises, someone who adapts, someone who listens to the signals and responds with intention instead of avoidance. This is a deeper kind of strength, the kind that comes from facing what you've ignored and choosing to transform it instead of burying it. You start to feel the momentum turning into confidence, real confidence, the kind built from action, not words, the kind that grows every time you honor your body instead of pushing it aside. And that confidence becomes a force within you, pushing you toward the life you want with a clarity you've never had before. You realize that every moment you commit to this path is a moment you're writing a new story, one where your well-being is no longer optional, but essential, one where you take ownership of the life you are building, one where you stop simply existing and start living with purpose. This is your awakening expanding into something unstoppable. You feel it in your breath. You feel it in your resolve. You feel it in the way your body responds every time you choose consistency over chaos. And now you know, without question, that this path isn't temporary. It's who you are becoming. A person who chooses strength. A person who chooses clarity. A person who chooses themselves fully, fiercely, and without apology. Every choice you make now is a signal to your body, your mind, your future, a signal that you refuse to be held hostage by fatigue, by discomfort, by the invisible weight that has slowed you down for too long. You feel it pulsing beneath your skin, that knowledge that your life doesn't have to be defined by what you've endured. And the urgency grows because you understand that every day you hesitate is another day lost to habits and patterns that steal more than energy. They steal presence, focus, and freedom. You can't afford to pause. You can't afford to wait. You've felt the spark of change, and now it's time to feed it until it becomes a flame that can't be ignored. Your body remembers what it means to feel alive. It remembers the lightness of movement, the clarity of thought, the calm in your gut when it isn't under siege. And once you've felt even a glimpse of that, nothing else feels acceptable. You start noticing what you've been tolerating. The heaviness after meals, the tension that settles in your shoulders, the fog that clouds your thinking. You see how much you've adapted to discomfort. And that realization ignites a fire you cannot put out. It's no longer a suggestion, it's a demand from within. Your body is calling, insisting that you honor it, that you act, that you step fully into the version of yourself that refuses to be diminished. The stakes are higher now because the cost of inaction becomes painfully clear. Every ignored signal adds up. Every postponed choice compounds the strain. Your energy dwindles. Your clarity fades. Your resilience erodes. You felt what happens when you listen and respond, and now the thought of going back feels unbearable. You recognize that transformation is not optional if you want to reclaim your life. It's essential, and that knowledge sharpens your focus, quickens your pulse, and sets a relentless pace inside you that demands progress, that demands action, that refuses to let you settle for anything less than alignment. Every small habit you commit to compounds into a force that grows stronger by the day. Every moment you honor your body builds momentum that cannot be reversed. Every time you choose consistency over neglect, you rewrite the rules of what's possible for you. This is the power you've been waiting for, the quiet, unstoppable energy that builds from repetition, from dedication, from refusing to be passive. You're no longer waiting for motivation or permission. You're creating results by showing up, by taking action, by making a choice that matters more than convenience, more than comfort, more than the excuses that used to hold you back. And with that power comes clarity. You begin to see what's truly within your control. You start distinguishing between what drains you and what supports you. You start noticing the subtle wins, the way your energy stretches further, the way your gut feels lighter, the way your mind sharpens as your body finally finds space to function without interference. These are not abstract victories. They are evidence, proof that the life you want is not somewhere far off. It's here, it's now, and it's yours if you continue to claim it with the same intention, the same focus, the same commitment you've already begun. This is the point where action becomes identity. You're no longer someone who hopes for change. You are the person who chooses it, who commands it, who embodies it. Every day you move forward, you reinforce that identity. You reinforce that you are not defined by fatigue, by discomfort, by limitations that others told you were permanent. You are defined by the choices you make, by the care you show yourself, by the insistence that your well-being is non-negotiable. And that insistence creates a momentum that carries you past resistance, past doubt, past every shadow that tried to keep you small. You feel it rising, the unstoppable force of your own commitment. You feel the energy, the clarity, the presence growing with every deliberate act of support. And you understand that this isn't a temporary spark. This is the ignition of transformation that spreads through every cell of your body, through every thought in your mind, through every moment of your life. You have stepped into a new rhythm, a new standard, a new reality where you refuse to accept anything less than what your body, your mind, and your life deserve. You are moving, relentless and unshakable, toward a version of yourself that was always possible, but now is undeniable, unstoppable, and fully alive. You can feel it now, the force of your own momentum, unstoppable, growing with every deliberate choice. There is no room for hesitation. You felt what it's like to honor your body, to feed it what it needs, to give it space to function the way it was meant to. And once you've felt that, once you've sensed the energy returning, the fog lifting, the heaviness dissolving, you know that the cost of ignoring it is far too high. Every day spent delaying, every day spent settling, chips away at the life you could be living. You feel it deep in your bones, the weight of every postponed decision, every moment of neglect. That weight drives you forward because now you know the difference between living half alive and living fully awake. You cannot afford to stop now. You cannot afford to settle again. The urgency builds because you understand how fragile this balance really is. Your gut, your liver, your energy, they are not infinite resources. They are systems that respond, that adapt, that recover, but only if you act. And when you choose to act, even in the smallest way, the response is profound. You've already begun to feel it, the clarity that stretches your mind, the energy that fuels your body, the lightness that reminds you of what life was always meant to feel like. and that feeling awakens a hunger inside you. A hunger not for instant results, but for mastery over your own body, your own life, your own potential. You start to understand that nothing outside can give you this. It must come from within. It must come from action. It must come from consistency. Every small decision now carries weight. Every choice compounds. Every day you honor your body with even a fraction of intention, you are rewriting the story of what is possible. And that is where real power lives. Not in grand gestures, not in fleeting motivation, but in relentless commitment. The simple act of giving your body what it needs, the small yet deliberate ritual you've begun, becomes the anchor of transformation. And as the anchor holds, everything around it begins to shift. Your mindset sharpens, your confidence deepens, your sense of control expands. You begin to see that change was never about luck or chance, it was always about choice. And now you are choosing like never before. You feel it in your focus, in your clarity, in the way your body finally aligns with the energy you've been longing for. You notice the subtle victories. Your thoughts feel cleaner, your body feels lighter, your gut feels calmer. These are not abstract or fleeting. They are proof that your body responds when you listen, proof that your effort matters, proof that transformation is not a possibility. It is your reality if you continue to act. And with every proof comes momentum. Momentum that propels you forward with a speed and intensity you've never experienced. You are no longer merely surviving. You are building. You are reclaiming. You are evolving. The stakes rise with every moment because you now understand the consequences of inaction. To stop now would be to surrender all the progress you've carved out. To stop now would be to let fatigue, inflammation, and heaviness reclaim what you've begun to free. And that is unacceptable. You feel a surge of determination, raw, undeniable, unstoppable, coursing through you. You are no longer willing to tolerate the life of compromise you once accepted. You are no longer willing to live in the shadow of what your body and mind are capable of. The fire inside you has become a force that demands movement, demands clarity, demands results. And you rise to meet it because you have already tasted what's possible. And you will not settle for anything less. Every breath, every choice, every action now carries meaning. You realize that transformation isn't accidental, it's deliberate, it's cultivated, and you are the architect. You are the one shaping your life, your health, your energy. You are building a foundation so strong that nothing can knock it down, so clear that nothing can obscure it, so unstoppable that every step forward becomes inevitable. You are no longer waiting for permission, for external validation, or for a perfect moment. You are the force, you are the change, you are the one who decides how high, how far, and how fully you will rise. And you feel it, the power, the clarity, the certainty that nothing can hold you back now.